Imagine this moment. A 67-year-old woman sits quietly in her living room. A cup of tea, an open book. Her phone buzzes. A message lights up the screen. "Would you like to meet for coffee?" She stares at it. Her heart skips. She hasn't been on a date in over 30 years. And in that moment, she whispers, "Am I too old for this?" But here's the truth. No one told her, and maybe no one told you either. You're never too old to want love, but you may be carrying silent myths that keep it away. If you're over 60, 70, even 80, and the idea of dating feels awkward, impossible, or just not for people your age, you're not alone. In fact, you're in the company of millions of older adults who still crave connection, laughter, companionship, and yes, romance. But so many give up on it, not because they're truly done, but because they've been silently taught that love has an expiration date. Let's be clear. You can find meaningful connection at any age. But to do that, you must let go of the 5 lies the world told you about love after 60. Lies like, you're too old to be attractive. No one wants someone with wrinkles, a cane, or grandkids. It's embarrassing to admit you're lonely. Dating is only for the young. If it didn't happen before, it's too late now. Sound familiar? Well, I have good news. These are just stories, and they're wrong, because love doesn't retire. It doesn't care about your age. It cares about your heart. In this video, you'll discover why dating after 60 can actually be deeper and more joyful than ever. How to overcome shame, doubt, and what will people think? Real stories of people who found love again, even after loss, divorce, or decades of silence. And practical ways to meet someone today without pretending to be someone you're not. This isn't about starting over. It's about starting from who you are now, fully, honestly, and with more self-worth than you've ever had before. So if you've ever felt a flicker of curiosity, a whisper that said, maybe, just maybe, there's still love out there for me, stay with me, because this conversation might change everything. Let's begin with the first lie that steals the most hope, and why it's time to rewrite the script. Frank is 74. His wife passed 7 years ago. Since then, he's filled his days with gardening, crossword puzzles, and occasional lunches with friends. He tells people he's fine, that he's done with all that romance stuff. But sometimes, late at night, he lies awake and wonders, is it wrong to still want someone's hand in mine? Here's one of the most common and most heartbreaking myths older adults carry. I've aged out of romance. This belief doesn't just shut doors, it locks them. Not because the heart no longer longs for connection, but because the mind tells it to sit down and be quiet. Let's be very clear. Romance has no age limit. What changes after 60 isn't the desire for love, it's the permission to pursue it. Society doesn't show enough images of 2 70-year-olds holding hands with tenderness, or kissing with joy, or dancing slowly in the kitchen. But that doesn't mean it's not real. Brain. In fact, studies show that the need for affection and emotional intimacy often increases with age. Older adults who maintain romantic connection have better heart health, immune response, and even cognitive function. Romantic touch, even just hugs and kisses, reduces stress and improves sleep. So why do so many seniors give it up? Because they've internalized messages like, you're too old to fall in love. No one wants you in that way anymore. You should just focus on the grandkids. These messages are cruel and false. Frank didn't believe he had the right to want closeness again. No one wants you old, until one day he met a woman at his local community center. They started having tea after class. Then came longer walks. Laughter. He told her, I feel silly. And she smiled and said, so do I, and it feels wonderful. They weren't teenagers, but they were new to each other, and that made it just as magical. So what does romance look like after 60? Checkmark. It looks like holding hands without rushing. Checkmark. It looks like deep conversations instead of small talk. Checkmark. It looks like laughter lines and stories instead of filters and games. Checkmark. It looks like two people choosing softness, safety, and mutual joy. And you know what? It's often better than in your 20s, because now you know who you are. You're not chasing fantasies. You're seeking connection, and that makes romance realer, warmer, and more lasting. Here's what you can do today. Checkmark. Admit to yourself. You still want closeness. Checkmark. Let go of shame. It's natural, human, beautiful. Checkmark. Talk to a friend. Join a group. Say yes to a coffee. Checkmark. And, above all, give yourself permission to be someone who still deserves love. You are not too old for romance. You're too wise to believe that lie any longer. Joe is 69. He looks in the mirror and sees wrinkles, a softer belly, gray in his beard. He chuckles bitterly and says, "Who would want this?" He deletes his dating profile, skips the local meetup, tells himself it's better to stay invisible than to be rejected. But what Joe doesn't know is this. At that very moment, someone else is looking in their own mirror, hoping to find someone just like him. Here's the second lie that keeps millions from finding love after 60. No one wants someone my age. It's a belief built on comparison and fear. We compare our current selves to our younger selves, or to people we see online, on apps, on TV. We fear we're not enough anymore, not slim enough, smooth enough, energetic enough. But the truth? The right people aren't looking for perfection, they're looking for presence. In reality, more and more older adults are entering the dating world every year. Widowed, divorced, never married. People who value emotional maturity, stability, patience, and kindness. Things that often come only with age. Bar graph. In fact, nearly 1 in 6 adults aged 60 plus are actively looking for companionship. Older adults now make up the fastest growing segment on dating platforms like Our Time, Silver Singles, and even Bumble. Surveys show that confidence, good listening, and warmth rank higher in attraction than youth or looks, especially after 60. And here's what people often forget. Your age tells a story. Your face carries kindness. Your voice carries steadiness. Your scars carry wisdom. And your presence carries comfort. Let me tell you about Alan, 72. He lost his wife 10 years ago. At first, he felt invisible. But then he did something bold. He created a dating profile that said this: "I may not be young, but I know how to love deeply. I know how to listen. And I still believe in Sunday mornings with pancakes and slow music." Within a week, he had 3 thoughtful conversations. Not flings, but real interest. Because he didn't try to look younger. He showed up as himself. And it was enough. Here's the truth. Checkmark. Your warmth matters more than your waistline. Checkmark. Your eyes say more than your age. Checkmark. Your story is attractive to the right person. Checkmark. And your confidence, even if it starts shaky, is what draws others close. So what can you do today? Checkmark. Write a list of your best qualities, not physical, but personal. Checkmark. Ask a friend, what do you love most about who I am now? Checkmark. If you're online, lead with truth, not polish. Checkmark. Walk into the world believing this: I am not too old. I am just right for someone honest and ready. You are not invisible. You are not used up. You are not too late. You are someone's beginning. But only if you allow yourself to be seen. Carol is 66. She hasn't been on a date since the 90s. When a neighbor invited her out for dinner, she hesitated. Not because she didn't want to, but because she felt ridiculous. What would people think? I'm a grandmother. What if I say the wrong thing? What if I forgot how to flirt? She smiled politely, said maybe, and never followed through. Not because her heart was closed, but because her shame was louder than her hope. Here's the third silent myth that robs so many seniors of joy. It's embarrassing to want love or date again. And you know what? That belief didn't come from you. It came from a culture that never showed you what elegant, soulful, mature romance looks like. The world that shows 25-year-olds falling in love, but hides the beauty of two 70-year-olds rediscovering connection over coffee and gentle laughter. Let's break this shame, because you have nothing to be embarrassed about. Not your age, not your longing, not your hesitation, not your desire. Desire is not dirty. Desire is evidence that you're still here, still open, still hopeful, still human. So where does this embarrassment really come from? Fear of being judged by children, neighbors, or friends. Worry that your body has changed. Feeling out of practice or unsure how to act. Internalized ideas that you should just focus on aging quietly. But guess what? Everyone is scared at first. Everyone is awkward at first. Even 25-year-olds text their friends, "What should I say next?" Let me tell you about Janice, 70. She was widowed for 12 years. When she decided to try dating again, she felt like a fraud. But on her first date, she smiled nervously and said, "I feel like I'm in high school again, except this time I'm not pretending." They both laughed, and that laughter opened the door. Here's what happens when you step through the fear. Checkmark. You rediscover parts of yourself, playfulness, curiosity, even butterflies. Checkmark. You remind yourself that aging doesn't mean vanishing. Checkmark. You give other seniors permission to believe they're worthy of love too. Checkmark. And you realize that connection has nothing to do with age and everything to do with honesty. So what can you do today to release embarrassment? Checkmark. Say it out loud. I still want to be seen. Checkmark. Rehearse being open. Practice a smile, a kind question, a compliment. Checkmark. Surround yourself with positive examples. Seniors, dating, laughing, loving. Checkmark. Choose dignity over fear, because embarrassment fades, but regret lingers. There is nothing shameful about wanting to be known, touched, held, or loved. No matter your age, so instead of asking, "What will people think?" Try asking, "What if I feel alive again?" Have you ever talked yourself out of connection because of fear or shame? Have you ever felt your heart want more, but your voice went quiet? Type "still open" in the comments if you're ready to believe that dignity and desire belong together. Susan is 71. She's smart, kind, and full of life. But when her niece suggested she try online dating, she laughed out loud. "That's for kids in their 20s, she said. "I wouldn't even know where to start." But that night, she couldn't sleep. She kept thinking, what if there's someone out there, like me? Someone who's lost, or healing, or just lonely. The next morning, she downloaded the app. And 3 months later, she was planning her third lunch date with a retired teacher named Robert. Here's the fourth myth, keeping older adults from love. Online dating is only for the young. That might have been true 15 years ago, but not anymore. Today, seniors are one of the fastest growing groups using dating apps and platforms. Bargraph, did you know? More than 30% of adults aged 60 plus have tried online dating. Sites like Silver Singles, Our Time, and eHarmony Seniors are specifically designed for mature connection. Many matches lead not just to romance, but to companionship, friendship, travel partners, and shared laughter. It's not about finding someone perfect. It's about finding someone honest, someone ready, someone real. Yes, it can feel confusing at first. Yes, it can feel silly to upload a photo or write a bio. But here's the secret. Everyone at every age is nervous the first time. But the ones who keep going are the ones who meet someone worth meeting. Let's break down the 3 fears most seniors have about online dating. Crossmark. I won't know how to use it. Checkmark. Most apps have simple interfaces, help buttons, and even phone support. Crossmark. People will judge me. Checkmark. People will admire you for having the courage to open your heart again. Crossmark. It's full of scammers or fake people. Checkmark. Like any space, you have to use care, but safe platforms and awareness go a long way. We'll give tips below. How to start safely. Checkmark. Choose a site that caters to seniors, Silver Singles, eHarmony 60+, etc. Checkmark. Use recent photos that show the real, beautiful you. Checkmark. In your profile, be honest. Share your story, values, and what you're looking for. Checkmark. Don't rush. Start with light conversation. Checkmark. Never send money and always meet in public places at first. Susan didn't find love on day one, but she said, "Every time I talked to someone, I learned more about myself. I remembered I still had things to offer. And now, I don't feel invisible anymore." That's the point. Not swiping, but showing up. Online dating isn't desperate. It's deliberate. It's brave. And for many, it's the doorway to their next great chapter. What you can do today. Checkmark. Ask someone you trust to help you set up a profile. Checkmark. Write a simple bio. I still believe in morning coffee, deep talks, and second chances. Checkmark. Start a conversation. Not to impress, but to connect. Checkmark. And most of all, remember, the real you is more than enough. Margaret was 82 when she met Peter. She had been widowed for 18 years. She had grown used to her own company, her own routines. She told herself, "I've missed my chance." Love was part of the past. But at a local library reading group, she met him. A man who loved old poetry, dark chocolate, and walking slowly in silence. They weren't looking for fireworks. They found warmth, a presence, a quiet companionship that felt just right. And Margaret said, "I didn't know my heart still had this much life in it." Here's the final myth we must leave behind. If love hasn't happened by now, it never will. This belief is not just false, it's cruel, because it shuts the door on a future you could still create. Let me tell you something simple and powerful. Pushpin love is not a timeline, it's not a deadline, it's a doorway. And it opens when you stop looking at the clock and start looking at your heart. Here's why this myth exists. You may have been hurt and built walls. You may feel too settled to begin again. You may believe the world only celebrates first love, not late love. But here's the truth. Some of the most profound, tender, and healing relationships begin after 60, 70, even 80. Because by now, you know yourself. You've softened. You've learned patience. You're not chasing sparks. You're building fire that lasts. Studies show that older adults who find love later in life experience boosts in cognitive function and energy, report fewer health complaints, are less lonely and more emotionally stable than peers who isolate, and often say things like, "I never thought I'd feel this again, but I'm so glad I stayed open." Love after 60 doesn't look like movies. It's quieter, deeper, more honest. It looks like handwritten notes instead of texts, long conversations over soup, sitting together without needing to fill the silence, caring for each other gently when the body needs help. It looks like real life, and it's beautiful. So what can you do today to open the door again? Checkmark, say it aloud. It's not too late for me. Checkmark, write down what kind of connection you're open to. Friendship, dating, companionship. Checkmark, stay engaged with the world. Attend events, join interest groups, keep showing up. Checkmark, and remind yourself, love doesn't belong to the young. It belongs to the willing. Margaret didn't expect Peter, but she let him in. And in doing so, she discovered a truth that we all need to remember. It's not over until you decide to stop hoping. And even then, life might surprise you anyway. Let's go back to that message we saw at the beginning. Would you like to meet for coffee? The woman reading it is still there, still holding the phone, still hesitating. But now, something's different. She's heard the truth, that she's not too old, that she's not unwanted, that her desire isn't foolish. It's beautiful. She breathes in, smiles, and finally presses yes. If you've watched this far, you've already done something brave. You've dared to question the silence, finally cross. You've dared to imagine a future with connection, not just memory. You've dared to believe that love doesn't stop when you turn 60, 70, or even 80. It just waits for you to believe again. So let's remember what we've uncovered together. Checkmark. You're not too old for romance. Checkmark. You are wanted by people who value truth over image. Checkmark. You don't have to feel ashamed of your heart's longing. Checkmark. You can find connection online, in person, or in the most unexpected moments. Checkmark. And no matter how many years have passed, you are still worthy of love. So the real question is, what will you do with this truth? Will you keep waiting behind the wall of what if? Or will you open a window and let the light back in? Love doesn't care about calendars. It cares about courage. Down finger. Have you ever been surprised by connection later in life? Or are you still waiting? Share your thoughts in the comments. You never know who your story might help. Right finger subscribe to Speech Balloon Longevity Talks Herb. For more honest conversations about living fully, aging with grace, and saying yes. Even when the world says you're too late, because you're not too late. You're right on time.